Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the new president of Salt Lake Community College and my queen mother, Dr. Deneece Huftalin.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. What an extraordinary day. Thank you all very, very much for those wonderful, fabulous remarks. And thank you, Joy and Eric, for getting the house rocking. That was nice. Governor Herbert, Vice Chair Davis, members of the Board of Regents, Chair Miller, and Salt Lake Community College trustees, esteemed fellow and former presidents, elected officials, students, colleagues, family, and friends. I am so honored that you are all here sharing this moment with me, but much more importantly, sharing the larger journey of Salt Lake Community College. I am proud and humbled to accept the president's position and the charge that I have been given at this institution, which I have come to love deeply. I express my deepest thanks for the trust shown to me by our regents, our trustees, our community, our faculty, my colleagues, and most importantly, the students of Salt Lake Community College. It is a sacred trust and one that I am determined to honor in partnership with all of you in our voyage to make Salt Lake Community College the premier community college in this country. So the notion of dreaming big is part of America's collective psyche. From the beginning of our nation, our founding fathers and mothers dreamt of a different political structure, a more inclusive political process, despite the previous eras that had defined them. And while I acknowledge that they didn't address all of the injustices at that time, they were nevertheless dreamers in imagining new boundaries and new ideals and new rules, and they went about the task of creating them. And the evolution of the community college itself is a product of dreaming and doing. Throughout the 20th century, educational leaders recognized the need for different types of training and educational access as America became more diverse and economic and regional needs began to intensify and change. The community college model emerged as a higher education dream to provide access to citizens who weren't wealthy enough to attend the universities, or to adult learners who could not leave their local community. It evolved to strengthen access to the breadth of general education and to provide more flexible and technical training for the workforce. The community college truly represents the democratization of American higher education and continues to lead the way in providing open and affordable college access to millions of students and workers. So it's fitting today that we continue the focus on dreaming and doing to acknowledge this impulse, celebrating the genetic coding of our history. So first, let's dream. As a community college, we deal every day in hope. It is the essence of what we do. And for many of us, it's the impetus to come to work every day to enliven dreams alongside students. In fact, many of you sitting in this arena today, right now, could rattle off personal stories of students you teach and you serve and the dreams they have. Stories like Scott Vargas, a young man and Marine with several deployments under his belt who dreams of teaching philosophy, having witnessed firsthand the duality of mankind, having seen people at their very best and their very worst in war zones. He is now committed to reconciling this experience by studying and teaching philosophy. He is a kind and gentle, thoughtful patriot, and he's now pursuing his dreams at this college. Or Duke Bior, who after fleeing South Sudan and spending years in a Kenyan refugee camp, arrived at Salt Lake Community College to begin to study computer programming. who alongside his studies began to dream again about changing other refugees' educational trajectories, and who used his education and leadership skills to found a nonprofit dedicated to financially assisting orphans who have dreams of their own. Or Bart Harmataki, who spent 34 years building homes before he returned to school and changed careers, who was struck by the strength he found in his classmates who ranged from 21 to 56 years old, who came from all walks of life, and who held varying different beliefs, but found common ground in their dream to help people improve their lives. He will graduate this May from the college as an occupational therapy assistant and thrived having been surrounded by such diverse student colleagues. Scott, Dute, and Bart represent the best of Salt Lake Community College students, but they are not unique in their stories. Each of our students, whether coming right out of high school or returning several years away, whether coming reluctantly because they've been laid off or joyfully because they've gained entrance into our nursing program, whether they're first generation or a returning veteran, they all have dreams. They know that power comes from knowledge and ultimately becomes the personal power to shape their destiny. They know that with education comes freedom. Freedom to realize in the world the dreams that you hold in your heart. And our task, our mission, if you will, or our calling, is to help those students live into those dreams. As Maya Angelou shares, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. So we must dream alongside our students. We must find ways to encourage dreaming and risking and inventiveness around one another. We must dream of ways to improve our completion and transfer rates. We must dream of ways to help businesses find trained workers more effectively. We must dream our ways out of insufficient models of teaching and or serving and into new, innovative methods. As the professional community entrusted to these students' dreams, we must examine our own fixed and rigid mindsets and inhabit what Stanford psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck describes as a growth mindset. She argues that by adopting a mindset which believes that there is room to change and there's room to grow, we can fundamentally serve students better. By questioning our own practices and considering our own growth and change, we can enliven and enhance our work. Her research considers the impact of not yet thinking rather than failure thinking, and demonstrates how by praising students for their progress or their strategic thinking or their effort, rather than a singular outcome right now, we can change the odds for many students who have been historically left behind. She nudges us to embrace the power of yet versus the tyranny of now by rethinking practices and engaging in growth-focused thinking to strengthen learning. By adopting positive restlessness, by dreaming ourselves out of our comfort zones, and by knowing what our students dream about, we can significantly change our community. By cultivating a collective respect for dreaming and imagination and not yet thinking, we can thrive together as a community. But only if we then do. We have come a long way since 1948 when we had 250 students. And I honor the achievements of the faculty and leaders of Salt Lake Community College who have brought us to this point. But I also envision a future better, beyond our present best. As an open access institution in a state with wildly changing demographics, we have many students arriving with no experience navigating the path of higher education. 64% of our new students are first-generation students. No one in their family has had the opportunity to model for them the steps and activities and behaviors that bring success in college. We need to understand and identify the barriers that they encounter and provide the tools or services and resources that will help them transcend those obstacles. I share a goal with many of you in this room to improve our graduation and transfer rates. And even though we have consistently been in the top 10 in the nation for certificates and degrees awarded, we have a lot of room for improvement. We must commit to doing more and doing it better. And to do this, I believe we need to engage in a community of trust and respect, where creativity and responsiveness are incentivized. We must find joy in the doing and collectively examine our results, consider new, somewhat audacious approaches, and deep six things that don't work, and try even if we fail. We must, in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, dare greatly together. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who errs, who comes short again and again, who at the very best knows in the end the triumph of achievement, but if he fails, who at worst at least fails while daring greatly. To do and dare greatly, we must first trust one another, identify our shared values and common purpose, and then keep those at the forefront of our decisions. We must dare to set higher targets for completion rates, both within semester and at degree completion, resource pedagogies and practices which complement those targets. We should dare to call out achievement gaps and reset the way we respond to underrepresented students. We should dare to be an even more inclusive as an institution. By boosting inclusivity and diversity efforts, we bring to bear powerful resources and tap into strengths found in the rich and diverse thinking and perspectives and life of experiences cultivated in the many traditions and cultures of our world. We must dare to build spaces which integrate learning and break down silos and leverage the diversity of our students into a more integrated curriculum. We should dare to incentivize pathways to our USHE partners to improve transfer rates, dare to listen to business and industry and actually change curriculum to meet their needs, dare to work with our K-12 colleagues to align curriculum and expectations to college pathways, dare to examine bureaucratic practices which impede imagination and nimbleness and then change them. Dare to hold each other accountable to bring surprising, sound, and stimulating ideas to the table. Listen to students' experiences and respond as learners and not knowers. We should heed columnist Care Anderson's advice to become opportunity makers, to do something smarter together for the common good. All of this begins when we align the resources and talents that are sitting in this room to move the needle internally so that people notice externally. For instance, just this week we announced the college's receipt of the coveted Carnegie Classification for Community Engagement. This national recognition as a community-engaged institution underscores the work of so many faculty and staff and students in community participation, outreach, and support. It means we are exemplary in preparing educated and engaged citizens with strong civic responsibility. It means our college and our students are addressing critical societal issues and contributing to the public good. We all have or know stories about the transformative experience that can happen on a college campus. I would bet each one of you sitting here today can identify a teacher or a staff person who at some point in your educational journey illuminated your path. And now you want to light that path for others. But our dreams without action only mark time. My hope is that our dreams will eclipse our fears and our actions will transform our words into the reality for many students of a life filled with greater personal power, power to make a real dream come true may only be now a glimmer. We all have a part to play by calling forth our best ideas, our best efforts, and our best selves. We can all dream. So together, let's become the dreamers who do. Dreamers who do can make phenomenal changes in the lives of one student, one colleague, one community, and one world. Thank you very much for your trust in me as a leader.